eyes are heavy, your mind's awake, your hands are steady, but your heart's a race. And while people sleep,
hey guys, how's it going? This is Rob. I'm gonna continue on with my episodes for Rob's Corner. So today the biggest thing I'm gonna talk about is insomnia. I started my insomnia in August 15th of 2016, which is this year, and I just wanted to make this video of some of the steps that I took to get over my insomnia. And so it's been exactly 1 month since I'm still recovering from my insomnia. I want to first disclose that I did use like sleeping aids at first to try to get over it, which was actually very unhelpful, and my insomnia got pretty bad. It got up to the point where I was only sleeping about 30 minutes every night, or at least I felt like I was sleeping 30 minutes a night. I would lay in bed, it would be about maybe 3 in the morning or so, and I'd wake up knowing that I had literally just laid in bed, maybe 8 p.m. till 4 a.m. I'd be very, very stressed out. Let me talk about the way I went about recovering from my insomnia. So I used several different steps, and I kind of used like a scientific method as I was going through my insomnia, and it really helped me to understand myself a little bit better. If you go to a doctor saying you can't sleep, more than likely they're gonna say, oh, here's this pill, take it, it'll help you sleep. And yeah, that might be okay for the short term, but in the long term, I think from the blogs that I've been reading online, that's the reason why insomnia becomes such a long-term event. Really caring about the long-term effects of the medication, and they really only care about the short-term, like right now I want to sleep tonight, but they don't think about the fact that the sleep they're getting is not really healthy sleep, and so in the long term it's not very helpful for people's insomnia. It's actually the main reason why people have insomnia for like 8 months. I'm very curious, so as soon as I felt that I had insomnia, I immediately wanted to know why. I looked up online research, I asked my doctor, I talked to different therapists. I live a block away from the University of North Texas, so I asked a couple people there why people get insomnia, and most of them said that it's related to some type of anxiety, which is the underlying cause of insomnia. So let me go over the steps that I used to get over my insomnia. I used 5 steps. So the first one that I used was to keep a journal. And it's very important that you go back and read the journal, not just keep it, so you know what works and what doesn't work. So whenever I started keeping the journal, I kept track of it using a time reference, and I typed it, which is not a very good idea, because if you type your journal, then whenever you wake up at night when you can't sleep, you have to come back on the computer and take in this light, which is very bad for wanting to go to sleep. Well, that's very important. So don't keep track of time in your journal. So one thing I did is I used a voice recorder, and a voice recorder with no light, like no little LED screen that lit up. I used that, or I used a handwritten journal and then transcribed it to a Word document. And I kept a journal. For example, I would use September 11th to 12th, the night of, and then keep track of that. Like I said, don't keep track of time, because you're going to stimulate your mind. Only keep track of time when it's your bedtime and when it's time for you to wake up. Because if you know you only have 3 hours before you wake up, the worriness of, oh, I only have 3 hours, oh, I only have 2 hours and 30 minutes, oh, I only have 1 hour and 15 minutes, oh, I'm going to have to wake up in an hour, that in itself is going to prevent you from falling asleep. Even after you start recovering from insomnia, make sure that you keep your journal. And you may not have to keep it every night, but at least keep an entry, I would say bi-monthly. So on the 15th and the 1st, just say, how was my sleep the last couple of weeks? Why was it like that? And it's good to know that, because in case your insomnia comes back, you know what events triggered it. So that's step one. Keep a journal, keep a log, make sure you go back, look at it. It's very important. Step number two is I would recommend using a sleep tracker. So like this is, I have a Fitbit, the cheap one, but you could buy cheaper alternatives. And the reason why sleep trackers are very important, especially to people who have anxiety. So basically, even if I feel like I had a really bad sleep the night before, I go into my sleep tracker and I can see how many restless nights I had, and sometimes you'll lose track of whether you're sleeping or if you're just laying there for a couple of hours. And what I noticed is I feel like I've been just laying there for a couple of hours, but I know that whenever I lie there, I make it a point to move my hand with my sleeping tracker so that I know the next day whenever I look at my tracker if I was actually just laying there or if I actually slept. So for example, one night I thought I only slept about 30 minutes because I kept tossing and turning, but I woke up the next day and I saw my sleeping tracker and there was about 2 hours where there was no movement whatsoever. So I knew I had at least 2 hours of restful sleep. And that was, that motivated me. The next day I was like, wow, I had 2 hours of sleep, as opposed to the 30 minutes I had the 2 nights before. That's one of the things you have to accept whenever you're having insomnia, that you're not going to get good sleep, but any bit of sleep that you get counts. Good sleep hygiene. So this is very, very important. I didn't really think about this prior to having insomnia. Just so you guys know, I have had insomnia before. I have it for the last 3 years. I've had it around the same time, except this time it was a little bit worse. Previously I would just have anxiety and I wouldn't be able to sleep for maybe like 2 or 3 days at a time. But this time it went on for a couple weeks. And I have a sleeping journal on Tumblr that I started for this for this insomnia event. So good sleep hygiene, you'll find this as soon as you Google what good sleep hygiene is. And at first I wasn't buying it. I just thought, okay, experts, they're just writing these things just so that they have information, general information, but it actually helps a lot. So turn off all electronics 30 minutes before you go to bed. It's really important. Maybe dim the lights. Read a book. I found that since I'm reading a book, I might as well read a book about stress-free living. There's one by the Mayo Clinic. I think it's on my chair over there. It's called The Mayo Clinic Guide to Stress-Free Living. I started reading that book and it really opened my eyes to why people get anxiety, which leads to insomnia and stuff like that. Also, I would recommend, sorry, that's my dog sneezing. Also, I would recommend, are you okay? Also, I would recommend turning down your thermostat to between 68 and 72 degrees. Just because, what's it called? There's the gland, what's the gland called? The thyroid. It really helps with your, there's been some studies about your thyroid, stuff like that, turning down temperature really helps, and it definitely helps me. I also use Epsom salts. I take baths after like a long day of running or a long day of exercise or walking around campus. One thing about sleep hygiene is you do not want to lay in bed more than 30 minutes if you can't sleep. I know you're not going to time yourself 30 minutes, and like I said, you're not supposed to look at a clock while you're trying to sleep, only for your bedtime and after that. Which also brings a point about the Fitbit or whatever sleeping thing you have. Some of them have a sleep reminder, like mine will start to vibrate whenever it's getting close to my bedtime, so I know when to wind down. Like I have mine set 30 minutes prior to my bedtime. So don't lay in bed more than 30 minutes. It's also like a general advice from online. whenever I first started doing my journal, I noticed I would do it 15 minutes. Generally, the general rule of thumb is when you start to worry about falling asleep, that's when you want to wake up and say, okay, I need to go to my living room, read a book, the stress-free living book. Some people, if you live in a house, because I know in apartments you can't do it, you could play your guitar, write a song, stuff like that. But you do not want to get on front of a screen on your phone. You don't want to do puzzles, something stimulating. You just want to do stuff that help your mind relax. Like I got a book from Audible, like a meditating book that they'll just tell you to lie down on your couch and relax, stuff like that. Also, do not nap during the day. This is very, very difficult, especially for me. I'm sure for everybody that has insomnia, you want to nap. Do not try to nap. Do not force yourself to nap. This is probably the biggest mistake you could do. Sometimes I would pull my bedtime a little bit earlier, which is really a little bit okay, especially if you have a busy day the next day. But you don't want to pull it too much, too frequently. What you generally want to do is understand about how much you sleep and give yourself, like for example, when I was only sleeping about 2 hours a night, I would push my bedtime a little bit later, so that way I would be more tired. Step number 4 is also a little bit difficult, and it's very generic. So eat right, of course, and exercise. Eating right is very, very important for sleep, because if you eat like even generally people that don't have insomnia, you can't sleep if you have heartburn. Exercise, I do a 5K every Wednesday. There's a running club in Denton that I run with, and it has helped out a lot, because one of the things about insomnia is that you just have to defeat it. Like, your body will get tired. If your body gets tired and you force it to stay awake, then it's going to have to give. You're human. Your body wants to survive. Yeah, just exercise, eat right, and stay busy. Some stuff that I've read in my book that I'm reading is that the mind, whenever it starts to wander, especially when you're not busy, like if you're up at night and just sitting there thinking, why can't you sleep? Your mind will start wandering, and the negative thoughts tend to stick with you the most. And that's another reason why people get anxiety, because your mind starts to wander and you're laying in bed and you think about, oh my god, this report's due tomorrow, or I have a meeting, I have a presentation, I'm not going to do it, I'm going to get fired, lose my job, I have a car payment, I have a house payment, my kids this, my wife needs that, I'm behind already on the mortgage. And once you start doing that, your mind starts thinking about the things that you do during the day. So I would be like, oh, maybe this guitar chord this, or this guitar chord that, or the song needs this, and then before I knew it, my alarm would ring. And I was like, whoa, and I would look at my Fitbit and realize there was like 4 hours that I went, I just dozed off. It was crazy. Also, I took magnesium supplements whenever I first started, because I heard that it was really good for thyroid and it helped with your overall health, and adults didn't take enough of it, stuff like that. And I think that really helped me, because I started logging whenever I took these supplements. I don't recommend melatonin because your body's supposed to produce it naturally. So I was really bad with melatonin. I literally took melatonin for a year and 5 months straight. Minimum of 3 milligrams a night. I went up to 15. And that's very, very bad because you become dependent on it. And for the last week, I've been able to sleep without melatonin or Unisom or any sleep aid whatsoever. I take magnesium every now and then when I don't eat foods that have magnesium in it or that are rich in magnesium. I'll take the supplement. But other than that, I don't recommend sleep aids, even if they're supposed to be like natural sleep aids. Maybe like tea or something, that would be good. But anyways, if you have questions on that, just message me. And step number 5, this is my favorite step of all, and it's probably one of the steps that you might be like, well, duh, right? But people don't really think about this step like that. Step 5 is that you have to just accept that you have insomnia. It's very difficult for people to accept it, but once you accept it, I mean, what else? Like, what's gonna happen? Just accept that you have insomnia. Move on. This is one of the hardest things I have to do, because in the accepting phase, you just move on with your day as normal. So that was difficult, because even during the day, when people would say, oh, I got 10 hours of sleep, 9 hours of sleep last night, I would get really jealous. I would be like, wow, I only got like 30 minutes of sleep last night. Or at some points, that was probably the worst, but maybe like an hour or something, and people were getting these crazy amount of hours. Your body will just get tired. Just follow the steps. Keep yourself awake during the day. Your body is going to give. Trust me. It will give. You will sleep. Hold on in there. You'll make it. Any sleep that you get, just be happy for it. So whenever I was sleeping and I saw my tracker and it said 2 hours of rest of sleep or whatever, I was just like, let's do it. Let's go on with the day, Sometimes I would go out with my friends. Don't change your schedule. Like, if you only do these things on a Wednesday where you stay up till like 11, you're not going to sleep anyway, so you might as well go. So I would do these runs. Sometimes I felt like canceling my runs, but I was like, no, you know what? Every Wednesday I do a 5K, so let's do the 5K every Wednesday. Sometimes I would have to leave early because your body gets so tired, and I do not want to drive tired. Also, do not force yourself to drive tired. That's really important. Take an Uber, take a Lyft, take a taxi, or if you have a friend that can go, take that. But don't drive really tired, especially if you've been taking sleep medication. That's really bad. And just know, insomnia is a part of life. 18.1% of adults suffer from insomnia. So you see 5 adults walking down the street, at least one of them has it, It's not uncommon. You're not alone. This is definitely something that you can deal with. Once you lie down, don't worry about falling asleep. Just accept the fact that you're tired, and accept the fact that you're laying in bed on the pillow, and just think to yourself, wow, this is a great feeling, You're laying in bed, you lived your day went by, it's over, you're resting. There's so many things that you could do the next day. Whether you sleep or not, you'll walk outside, you'll see the flowers, you'll see the sun. If you're in Alaska, maybe not, but you'll feel the snow. Do the small things that create like the all moments in life, and just move on, keep going. Everything's gonna be great. And just relax. This trip is just a trip, and don't overthink sleep, because sleep is just something that's supposed to happen. It's kind of like whenever you're walking down the street, you don't really think about, okay, I gotta push my left foot forward, my right foot forward, my left foot forward, my right foot forward. I'm supposed to move my hands, supposed to breathe slowly. You just do it. So the fact that you're overthinking sleep is preventing you from doing it. Because if you overthought walking that much, there's no way that you would want to be able to like walk anywhere, or driving. When you're just overthinking something, that should just come second nature to you. So that's all the 5 steps. The first one is keep a journal. The second one is use a sleep tracker. The third one is get good sleep hygiene. The fourth one is get good general health hygiene, like eat right, exercise, and stay busy. Keep your mind busy. And then the 5th one is acceptance. Just accept the fact that you are dealing with this chapter in your life. What makes the world so wonderful is the fact that you deal with conflict.
Your hands are steady, but your heart's a race. And while people